and of course the media, Corey, and I will call the meeting to order. It is now 5 p.m. Welcome to our town council meeting for November 13th. And I want to say how delighted I was again for a wonderful 11th of November Remembrance Day service. It was good to see our council there. It was good to see such a great crowd in the high school gym. And because it was a very, very chilly wind, of course, they did the placing of the wreaths at the appropriate time in the gym. There is some talk. There has been a portable cenotaph, and it's sort of fallen into disrepair and disappeared. So there's some talk of building another portable cenotaph for use indoors in case of inclement weather. So I'll have the opening prayer. I guess I get the honors tonight. Our most kind and loving Heavenly Father, with gratitude in our hearts for this beautiful community and this beautiful part of Canada, we're grateful for the opportunity and very aware of the challenge that we have and the stewardship that we have as we make those crucial and significant decisions regarding the governing and the administration of this town. We're grateful for those pioneers who settled it those many years ago. Father, we ask for thy Spirit, thy Holy Spirit, to be with us this evening as we deliberate, that we will indeed think clearly and make wise decisions in all aspects of our government responsibility. We ask these blessings. We pray that thou wilt comfort those in our community who have reason to mourn at this time, being aware of the Dobson family with the loss of Michael, and there are others who are grieving at this time for loss of friends, family, and loved ones. This is our prayer, again offering thee gratitude for the gift of thy Son, in his holy name, even Jesus Christ. Amen. We have a couple of additions. Inadvertently, the brief minutes of our brief organizational meeting were left out, and they've been handed out to us around the table. And under correspondence, we will add D, 11D. A gentleman named Smith, who plans on spending some time in Mexico, has given us a letter indicating the intent. Under confidential items, we have an employee-related issue that we will deal with from an informational perspective as well. So I would like to have a motion for adoption of the agenda with additions, moved by Councillor Kronen. Any discussion or comments on that motion? I'll call the question. All in favor? That motion is carried. And we move into our first item of business, being Sergeant Kelly Beelert with his RCMP quarterly report. And so, Kelly, if you'd like to grab a big gavel or maybe a meat tenderizer and pound as you need to see fit. Welcome, Sergeant Beelert. If you would, please, would you pass along, because this is the last official report for this calendar year, would you pass along to the detachment and the staff at the detachment our gratitude for the fine work that you do, that they do under your supervision, under your guidance and tutelage, and also wish to them our best for participation in the Remembrance Day services. It just adds such a nice note of class in the Red Surge. And also for Christmas, give them our greetings as well to all of the folks under your direction.
Thanks, Mayor Schow. I sure appreciate your words. It meant a lot to me to have those guys out on Remembrance Day, actually. That's the last time I would ever wear my Red Surge, and I asked them if they would come out, and they were working night shift, or they'd have been out too, so I thought it was really a good ceremony all the way around. It was great. Well, I'll just be quick, as I usually am here. I know that you guys have all had an opportunity probably to look at the third quarter stat sheet. As I like to do, I'll just go over that really quickly and then give you some of the highs and lows for the past 3 months that have been happening in town. Nothing really untoward or out of the stat sheet. The one thing I'm happy about under property offenses, we have 253 for this quarter. We had 274 last year, so we're down. And again, property offenses include vandalism, mischiefs, damages of property, things like that. That was one of our goals that we had set this year along with you people.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to see that has gone down. As you go a little further down to the bottom, collisions, we're at 49 in the town of Cardston for this quarter. We were at 71 last year at the same time. So those are down significantly. I'm happy about that as well. On the bottom it says 834 intoxicated persons have been lodged in cells. We actually, I just checked this afternoon, the actual number we have is 1,342 as of today, this afternoon.
So that's year-to-date then?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll just give you quickly some of the things I've written down for the past 3 months. We've written 13 to date, as of today, 13 bylaw, Town of Cardston bylaw tickets, which is something I was really happy with. We set a goal to write 10 this year, and as you know, our fiscal year goes from April 1st to March 31st, so we still have 5 months roughly to achieve that, and we've already gone 3 over, so I'm really happy with my officers for that. Most of those have been for loitering. A couple of them have been for urinating in public. We've had none of them challenged to this point, so we don't have really a test case yet, but they've had the effect. I know there was 5 people got in front of the laundromat a couple weeks ago, written up for hanging around there and bothering patrons, and I think the message was sent. I was happy to see that. In September of this year, a couple months ago, we charged an individual with, under the criminal code, with trafficking and prescription pills. Now, in my opinion, that is probably, in my office, that's probably the top 1 or 2 priorities that we've been focusing on. On October the 10th, and that was near the beginning of September, on October the 10th, it went to court here in Cardston, and we obtained a conviction. So it was kind of a test case, pilot case. We had never sent anybody to court for that. Got a conviction, and I believe, if I recall, the individual got probation out of it. Not a real out of the ordinary sentence. I think the judges are just not really used yet to dealing with that. I've come to learn in talking to different officers and different agencies around the south here, this is not a problem just primarily affecting Carlson. Talked to a couple officers in Lethbridge, from Lethbridge City Police about 2 weeks ago, and they said their downtown area, it's a major problem, trafficking and prescription pills. To that end, on October 18th, I met at the clinic over lunch hour with 3 of the local doctors here in town and 4 pharmacists. 3 pharmacists in town and 1 from Standoff. Basically, we discussed, we traded names, everything was put on the table. We traded names of who we deal with this problem. They exchanged information with me. And what was, I think, a bit of an eye-opener for them was that we actually, the bus that I told you about, the prescription pill bus, we had it all on film, on video. I had a vehicle out of Calgary. We had everything done. It was done in the little walkway between Value Drug Mart and the chiropractor's office there. And we put in, myself and my other officers put in hours and hours of surveillance, sometimes in our own vehicles on Main Street watching for this. Culminated in this bust eventually. And once we showed this PowerPoint of this whole takedown, right to the point of the selling, to the arrest and everything, the doctors, I think, and well, 2 of them told me, they had no idea of the actual magnitude of the abuse by certain individuals. And so I thought it was a wonderful meeting. We're now sharing monthly, we're sharing information on certain individuals back and forth, and it's something they now are monitoring. So I've been trying to get this done for years, and it was great. We're never going to probably eliminate it totally, but it's sort of a step in the right direction anyway. As far as our annual performance plan, APP initiatives, which I go over with Marian at the start of every year, I'm very pleased. Again, vandalisms are down. Traffic offenses are up, particularly speeding. My officers have really been focusing on the school zones lately. Junior high and the high school in particular, well, in the elementary school too. And it's been interesting, some of the people we've stopped for speeding. Some that should know better.
Not me.
Not this time.
Halloween was quiet this year. We had pretty good contingency of officers out working as well. We've got a real good group of COP citizens on patrol working with us now. And they were out in full force with their vehicles, with their magnet signs on the side of their vehicles, and they're just a bunch of more sets of eyes and ears out there for us. The only real incident we had that was kind of on the ordinary, we had 4 young youths apprehended. We apprehended them for throwing tomatoes and pumpkins at vehicles. No damage, just young guys up to nuisance. And we kind of tried something a little different. We had them all write apology letters to the people that own the vehicles. And I can pretty much assure you those 4 youths won't do that again. I think that was more humiliating for them than probably going to jail. But yeah, the citizens on patrol have been just wonderful. So that's pretty much what I have, folks. Does anybody have any questions on anything at all?
I'd like to acknowledge Councillor Edmonds, if you would. First question, Councillor Edmonds.
I've received some complaints from citizens that when they're in crosswalks, the vehicles don't stop for them. They even move over and go around them just to get by so they don't have to stop.
I've written a couple of those lately, and they're a big ticket. They're like $400 or $500 tickets. So.
Right. I guess these instances were over by the, on the north side of the temple and the south side of the temple.
Okay, I'll make a note of that. For absolutely.
Councillor Kronen.
I'd like to ask you 2 questions. The first one I'd like to ask you is regarding the citizens on patrol. How are they assisting you, and when are they assisting you?
The way they assist us is they're out in their own vehicles on patrol, primarily on weekend night shifts, but not exclusively. We use them on Halloween. They were out in full force again in Moonlight Madness, both in their vehicles and on foot patrol. They're equipped with little walkie-talkie radios that they can contact each other with. And the head of the COP, their boss, we give him one of our portable radios so that if they see something, they contact him, and then he calls us right away, and we can respond to that quickly. Those are just 2 of the events recently in the past 2-3 months that they've helped us with. They go out, like I say, in their own vehicles. If they see something, they know their training is not to approach anyone or an individual, not to make any arrests, citizens arrests or anything, but to contact the police, to contact us. They're just more or less extra eyes and ears out there for us. They've been wonderful as far as helping us also catch anybody that's doing graffiti spraying. They've been great for that.
So you use them really on specific occasion or all year long?
All year long. We have about a dozen, and on those specific occasions, Moonlight Madness, Halloween, pretty much the whole works of them are out. On any given weekend, all around the calendar year, there can be 1 or 2 of them out. And call us if they see something. Not necessarily on any given weekend are the whole works of them out.
But they're totally volunteer and they don't get any support from anybody? Except when, is that totally a volunteer group? Or?
They're totally volunteer group, there's no pay. I'm not sure who they get some funding for like their radios and maybe some gas money. I think the town actually, to be honest. Marian would know more than me. It's a wonderful program. I'm a big supporter of them. They use our office. We have quarterly meetings. I have one of the constables is assigned to oversee the citizens on patrol, and they use our office for meetings with us. And some communities don't have it, and we've been actually approached by, where was I approached the other day? By Brooks, Staff Sergeant Brooks, wondering amounts of our COP program. So.
Okay, good. Thank you. And the second question I have is regarding the report, if you don't mind going back to it. I looked at the persons offense from 2011, and there were 51, there's 61 now. Now, I would imagine you doing more patrolling, so you're probably catching more of them. And the same with the other criminal code,
Yeah.
that is up 20%. So I was trying to understand exactly how do you explain that?
It's hard to, I mean, it can vary from year to year, how can I explain why the collisions are down 22
Exactly.
collisions? You
Yeah.
know, it's hard to say. Sometimes, Maggie, when we focus on one certain area, i.e. property offenses, you may have a little bit more
Personal
offenses,
offenses.
may increase sometimes in persons offenses, or, you know, I think I can attribute perhaps anyway, clamping down a bit on speeding in town to maybe the decrease in motor vehicle collisions.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a guess. So everything kind of seems to have play off each other. I can't explain why. It varies year to year in certain categories.
Okay.
We're down last year, I think, if I recall, we had 13 drug
Yeah,
charges.
I
at this
just
time.
wondered why.
Yeah, now there's 9.
Yeah,
So some things are up a little, some are down a little.
I wonder if it was better patrolling or more
That never
catching
hurts.
people.
That never hurts anybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Sergeant, if I could, first of all, let me commend you and the detachment on the diligence that you have, in essence, pursued that prescription drug problem. You've made those charges, taken them to court. You've had the meetings with the pharmacists and the physicians, and so that is just so highly commendable. And again, it highlights the excellent cooperation that we've experienced here, at least in my 5 years. And so again, congratulations. Would you go over with us as a council, just briefly, what the laws are for pedestrian and as motor vehicle, as drivers, yielding to the pedestrian? Now, I've had situations myself where I've been crossing a street and a person didn't yield and drove out. So I've also had situations where I was crossing a street and behind me, the vehicle proceeded, and I just need to know what's legal, what the law reads, so that we know.
Basically, I guess it's as simple as this. If you're in a crosswalk as a pedestrian, you pretty much motor vehicle traffic, including bicycles, is legal for you till you are across or out of the path of that motor vehicle. If you're in anything other than a crosswalk, i.e. jaywalking, which I know goes on here and everywhere else, and you were to be struck by a car, you're pretty much on your own. That driver would not be, in all likelihood, likely not charged with any offense. So
This is interesting. So if I'm driving to the southbound direction and a person steps off the curb at a crosswalk, then obviously I stop and yield.
Yeah.
Now, when that pedestrian crosses what would be a dotted line, for example, in the middle, and is 2 or 3 steps beyond, because if I understand correctly, and it was a jaywalking situation, but the one fatality that happened about 1.5 years ago, the person turned around and was struck by the car. So obviously we want to avoid that possibility. So if a person crosses in front of my stopped vehicle and proceeds, and they're maybe 2 or 3 steps into the other lane, that would be, say, the northbound lane,
Right.
then it's clear for me to proceed.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a bit of a myth out there that that person has to completely clear the crosswalk. There's nothing in the Traffic Safety Act that I have been able to find ever that says they have to be completely out of that. They have to be out of the pathway of the vehicle, of my vehicle.
And that's a very reasonable law in my mind. Yeah. Again, any other comments or questions,
I
council?
just want to, Sergeant Beeler there, I appreciate, what you guys are doing there, especially focusing on bylaws and things like that as well. And for the, maybe for the out-of-box thinking where you get the kids to write an apology note and things like that for things that they do, or something that may be more of a lesson than anything else they can do. So, yeah, I appreciate you, going that little extra bit there to help out there
Yeah,
for sure.
I thought this was actually one of the constables kind of came up with that idea on Halloween night. Called all the parents in, 4 sets of parents, they were all in favor of it. And I tell you, it almost be mandatory sentencing for most people, because they won't do it again, I really believe that.
I agree, so thanks, yeah, that's great.
Anything else, folks?
Enjoy your
you so
retirement,
much.
Councillor.
That's my last thing.
Thank
Because,
you.
I put my papers in, I'm officially, my last day of work is January 31st. Surely you will and us, and I are leaving at that same time, and I've been told it could take perhaps up to a year to replace me.
Ooh,
I don't think they can.
Or longer.
Longer than that.
Because everybody's replaceable. I just want to say I probably will not be, this is the last time I address you folks in this capacity. I tell anybody that'll listen in my organization, I've never had a better experience with any town council. You folks have been wonderful to work with. I appreciate the open door that we have. I have many of you stop in my office from time to time, Mayor Schow. I sat down at his restaurants and stuff like that, and it's just been wonderful. It's an envious position. I know a lot of communities are not that way. Same with Marian and stuff. I mean, I just pick up the phone and visit her anytime, so thank you all for that. It's priceless to me.
Well, thank you, Sergeant, and it does work both ways. And again, I would echo Councillor Court's comments as well on your retirement. Thank you. We just can't say enough about how things have worked so well at this level. And I guess in a sense, we hope that those men and women that work under you, maybe it won't be till they leave and go somewhere else, that they realize how good they had it here, not because of the community, but because of the superb leadership that they've got here. So,
I hope my head can get out the door here. I appreciate it. Truly.
thank you.
thank you, Sergeant.
Thank you.
Okay, now, we'll now move into adoption of the minutes. The addition was the minutes here for the organizational meeting, and of course, the record reflects that it was a very brief meeting. So I will call for a motion to adopt the minutes of the organizational meeting held October 23rd. Councillor Edmonds so moves. Any discussion on that motion vis-a-vis the minutes of the organizational meeting? I will call that question. All in favor? Those minutes are approved. The next one is I will call for a motion of adopting the minutes of the regular council meeting of October 23rd. Councillor Court so moves. Any comments or concerns or corrections or omissions from the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the question on the adoption of the minutes. Councillor Court. I need to see some more hands.
Sorry.
Okay, those minutes are adopted. Now we've got business arising, item number 6. Marian will present to council some comments and whatnot that she has to clarify some of the budget items. So Marian, if you would do that for us, please.
All right. Now, I've just put this draft amendment in front of you tonight. I'm going to highlight only the changes that we've made to the budget. They are highlighted in yellow. We've done a thorough review based on our previous conversation with council. The first change we are proposing to make is in the provincial conditional grant. We've added $19,000, which is a grant that we receive for our intern program, and we are planning to apply for year 2 for Alexis to stay with us in year 2. And I'll talk a little bit about some changes that will affect as well as we move through the budget. In account number 112521, which is dog license and pound fees, we increased those by $1,500, and that was just due to the increase in the bylaw amendment that was made for licensing fees. We feel that there will be a slight increase in revenue there. The next change is for the 2015 budget for domestic water and commercial water billing. Those were reduced by $5,376 and $575 respectively, as when we were calculating that revenue, the rate that was input for the flat fee was incorrect. So I believe the flat fee is $18.25 and it was put in at $18.45. So that was just reduced once we did a thorough review. In the FCSS grant, we have increased that by $16,695. In discussions with the county, they are budgeting to fully fund their share of the FCSS grant this year. So that, of course, has not been approved by their council, but it is in their proposed budget, so we have amended that accordingly.
Good.
Also, on page 2 from reserves operating, we increased the 2013 budget by the amount of $93.95, and that is because we're proposing to transfer, we increased that by $14,395. We're proposing to transfer $9,395 of the insurance payout on our hail damage this year with vehicles to help fund the purchase of the new vehicle in 2013, the 1-ton truck. And also, there's $5,000 in the 2012 budget. The ice center study is going to cost more than we had budgeted, so we're proposing to bring that $5,000 forward to fund the $10,000 study that's in the budget for this year. Under administration salary, we have recently received Chris Fox's resignation. And we knew that when we hired her that it may be for a fairly short period of time, but based on her qualifications, we felt that she would be a good fit for the organization. Her life is just consumed with other things, and so she feels that this isn't something that she's able to continue with. So with that resignation, we looked at actually the intern program, and one of the things that Municipal Affairs asked for us to do is have our intern in year 2 focus their efforts in one particular area, yet still learning about the balance of the organization. We feel that the FCSS program is a very good fit for Alexis. It's both a good fit for the organization, but as well for her and where she's shown interest. And we've spoken with Alexis, and she is willing to focus her efforts in that area for year 2. So in that, we've made some adjustments under the FCSS and under the administration salary to allocate a portion of her time to the FCSS program.
Wow.
So we would like to thank Alexis for taking on that responsibility. We think it'll be a really good experience for her as an intern because the FCSS will give her a wide variety of experience within municipal government. Everything from putting agendas together, working with boards, working with community organizations, doing budgets, doing financial reporting to the government on an annual basis. So we think that it'll be a very good experience for her. So the next item, we changed the bylaw native liaison wage. We reduced that to a 6-month position. In the original budget that was presented, based on the requests we'd had from the chamber and one other business in town, we had put that to a full-time, but after further discussion with council, we've reduced that to a 6-month position. We also reduced the bylaw enforcement expenses and the animal control expenses by $2,500 and $3,855 respectively. When we did a thorough analysis of those expenses, it was determined that there was some things that actually had their own account that had been included in those expenses, so we were able to reduce those. The next was in the fire requisition, and that was just the original budget that we presented had shown our share at $50,000. 4%. Our actual share is 53%, so we just tweaked that slightly. And the fire dispatch costs, based on the information that we received from the City of Lethbridge, who offers that service on our behalf, we increased the 2015 budget by 3% over 2014 to reflect those costs. The Water Conservation Initiative, we reduced that by $1,000. That's a program that Lloyd has been working on, assisting people with low flush toilets and those types of things, and we're just seeing that the use of that, we can fit probably within that $1,000 a year rather than $2,000. Again, the FCSS coordinator benefits, that was reduced slightly because of our changes that we're making in that program, and that's related to pension and a couple of things. Mid-year requests in FCSS, we wanted to balance out our FCSS funding based on the county's contribution and the amount that the town should that grant, and so we just reduced that mid-year to compensate for some of the changes that were taking place in the administration and the benefits side of things. Economic development wage, that was reduced again because of the change in the FCSS and Alexis moving from focusing on economic development to focus on the FCSS program. The urban renewal, we reduced 2013 by 40,000 and 2015, 2013 by 40,000, 2014 and 15 by 20,000 respectively. And that was based on the discussion with council that perhaps it was appropriate to fund one tax for funding of one project per year rather than three. Under tourism and economic development special projects, we increased that by $2,135, and that is based on the recommendation from the Economic Development Tourism Board that we enter into the program with the Community Futures Lethbridge office with the business improvement loans and the town paying the interest on those loans, and that would be, this is based on 5 $10,000 loans and the interest for each of those. In green highlight, you'll see the Chamber of Commerce donation that we give them every year of $3,000. We've had discussion with the Chamber as to whether they would consider using that funding to fund a portion of the increase in the Native Liaison position. And they are looking at that favorably, but Zenith will be taking that to their board for consideration. So at this point, we've left it in the budget, but there is an opportunity that perhaps that amount may be removed as well. The next change is the library staff benefits, and that was just tweaked by $170. Nothing significant, but we just needed to tweak it based on our review of the pension. On the capital budget, the infrastructure provincial grant was reduced by $46,861, as we've now had word back from that grant office that our filter media replacement at the water treatment plant, they will not cover under that grant. They consider it a maintenance rather than a capital new investment. So we had to move that then to be funded by our MSI. In 2014, we also increased the grants, other capital. If you remember, we have $100,000 budgeted for the extension of the community irrigation line to the Alberta Temple. Cardston, Alberta Temple, I guess I should call it now. And it is, we just put a figure in there of $50,000, thinking that perhaps that should be on a 50-50 shared basis after conversation at the budget meeting as well. In the reserves from capital, we have some money that's on the reserve list as golf reserve, but it was put in there with the intent that it would be replacing equipment, parks and golf course equipment. So we're proposing that we pay for the replacement of the mower from that reserve account rather than taxing for it for this year. So that was increased by the 20,000. We also removed the phone system from the office capital, and that reduced that by $40,000. So if you look at the last page of the document, we are currently, with those changes that I've presented tonight, sitting with a surplus in 2013 of $15,902. 2014, $48,238, and 2015 is $109,034. Those surpluses are, of course, related to the proposed utility rate increases. So we can do, there's one more thing that we're still working on, and that is the amount of wages that we can reduce based on the capital projects that we have proposed. So right now we're evaluating within our capital projects how much of our wages will be allocated to those, and we'll reduce the wage categories accordingly so that we're not double dipping for wages there. My recommendation to council is that any surplus that is left, that we reduce the amount that we're taxing for, or the proposed amount that we're taxing for in 13, 14, and 15 accordingly. If council is comfortable with that, I will bring a balanced budget to the December council meeting. Again, these changes were made based on further review, further information that's come forward since our budget meeting, and discussions that we had at council. So, any questions?
I don't have so much a question. I don't have so much a question as a comment. It's quite impressive to see how you could pay off $300,000 in a matter of a month or so. So thank you so much for having sharpened the pencil for us all. Thanks.
Marian, do we need a motion to accept this then?
No, I will bring the final budget forward. Just, I was looking for some further information. If you wanted me to look at other areas, if you're comfortable with our recommendations. I realize it was kind of thrown at you last minute tonight, but again, it was based on previous conversations we've had, so.
Comments or questions, council?
I would suggest that we take some time to compare what we've got here and the changes with what we've been presented previously.
Well, we'll have some time to do that because she's not proposing that we have that until the December meeting.
I think
Any
it looks pretty good.
comments or questions?
Looks good.
Okay, thank you very much, Marian. There's been obviously a lot of work gone into that, and commendations to you and your staff and to the committee. We'll now move to item 6B. This has become a rather distressing concern. So Councillor Kronen will give us the quick and dirty on follow-up discussion from the Chief Mountain Regional Solid Waste Authority.
Okay. As you know, there was a decision made by the board just before I joined the board, and the decision was not to allow any construction waste to be dumped at the transfer station starting November the 1st. And because the rationale behind it was the ratepayers' insurance could compensate the all those involved in that construction waste to haul it somewhere else, being Lethbridge and Cowley. My question to them was, why couldn't we haul all the waste to our transfer station that is there to serve those communities that are members, and to charge an extra fee? Because our tonnage is coming to the limit. We only have about 800 tons left allowed to be dumped at a site. The authorities are already hauling to Lethbridge. So I thought if we increase the tipping fee, even if the authority had to hire a truck and a driver and have extra tonnage for the dumping in Lethbridge, another fee, then we would have satisfied something that is important, is the contractors are coming to the winter season, are trying to do as much work as they can to help our community, and yet we're putting a massive roadblock in their way to force them to have somebody drive the junk over to Lethbridge and Cowley. Anyway, the last that we heard after different exchanges, and some not, here is what the chairperson of that organization decided, that I feel we need to stick with the policy we came up with in having the contractors haul to Lethbridge or Cowley till the end of this year. We have already subsidized them by accepting it thus far. Why charge them a surcharge when they can pay it themselves by hauling it to the other landfills? We do not need to revisit. We do need to revisit this at our January meeting, but for now it's our only solution. And that's what I'm annoyed with, because we could still put a better solution in place, but there was no will. Therefore, total inconvenience to our town, and Marian has tried in many, many ways to see if we could put our shakes and shingles somewhere in the landfill around Etna in a stone pit there, but it was not accepted. Therefore, total inconvenience. I am not impressed. I don't think it's very good practice.
Well, simply put, the Chief Mountain Regional Solid Waste Authority, to which we belong, and we're a subscribing member, and always paying our share of allocated fees for operating, are not prepared to go to the trouble to facilitate the dumping at the landfill.
Yeah.
It's all the extra charges are covered by insurance, but they don't want to go to the trouble to maybe even get a little bit more revenue out of the process, which they should be entitled to do. They have trucks, they have drivers they could put on the road, and not for free. They would charge all of those extra charges back through the insurance, because every insurance claim, the removal of the debris from the roof, every insurance claim allows in that insurance claim for removal of the debris. So I share your dissatisfaction.
And this is why I had drafted a letter, but really, I do not know that it will bring anything further, except to let every single council in the different municipality know that there is a serious need to reconsider how we do business. And I think for that reason, maybe it's worth sending, tweaking it, updating it.
Any further comments, questions on this issue? Marian, Councillor Kronen, would you like then to, did you want to tweak this letter? We can vote to accept it, or if you need some further...
It needs to be tweaked a little bit to update it.
It needs to be tweaked.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we have the understanding then that it'll be tweaked, and is it going to be suitable to bring forth this letter or similar comments after the tweakification process to send this letter at from the next meeting? Mary?
I believe that just a simple motion to send the letter will draft and appropriate.
And Councillor Court so moves. Any further discussion on the motion to tweak it, and then we send that letter? Okay, all in favor? So tweaked, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Kronen, for your perseverance. That's been a frustrating exercise for you the last several days. Appreciate that. Let's move down then into request for decision. Item number 7A is a recommendation from Parks and Recreation that the town of Cardston consider hosting the 2015 55-plus senior games.
That's a wonderful idea.
And it's an excellent idea. So we should actually entertain a motion to at least submit a proposal that we would like to be considered to host it.
We discussed this at length at our meeting, and they're pretty confident that they can handle this. It'll bring a lot of exposure to the town, some positive
I think it's positive.
stuff. It's very large, there's lots of people will be here.
Okay.
But our facilities are second to none, and they're
And
prepared.
typically, we'd maybe share it with McGrath, the county, and maybe Raymond or
If we
something
need
like
to.
that, if we need to.
But I think we have most of our facilities in place so we can handle it.
Are you
The one,
prepared,
the one concern was lodging, but I think we can handle that
are you
too.
prepared to make the
I
motion?
would make that motion, yeah.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Court that the town of Cardston submit the letter of interest to the, and at this point, the letter of interest does not commit us to
It's for
anything.
2015, if you're wondering what it would be.
Alberta 55-plus senior games in the year 2015. And I'm seeing some questions over here. Councillor Dahl?
What would be the estimated cost to the town of doing that?
If things work out, it won't be costly at all, because there's grants and lots of grants and stuff like that, this kind of stuff. But it shouldn't be, we should not lose any money on this, no.
Yes, ma'am.
Just for council's information, there's an operating grant of $125,000, a cultural grant of 25, and a legacy grant of 25. So hopefully, we haven't put anything together yet, but I assume that we could, that was the discussion, council.
That was, yeah. Yeah. In some ways, it'll help enhance some of our facilities, we'll improve them, like grants.
Wonderful.
We might even have another facility by that time. Any further discussion on the motion to submit a letter of interest for the 55-plus games in 2015? I will call that question. All in favor? Carries. Thank you very much. We now need to discuss December council and committee meeting dates. Committee being committee of the whole. Having discussed this with Marian, I would like council to consider, and then by motion we'll make that decision, that probably for the month of December, we could forego committee of the whole, and if council so chooses, then we would maybe decide for the 4th or the 11th for our council meeting. What are your thoughts, council? Do you want to see us tie up fewer nights in December and maybe forego committee of the whole, and then just have one council meeting, which is typical? Councillor Kronen?
Well, Marian, normally in December, there is not that many items on the agenda, is there?
Correct.
So, in that sense, I would say, from the past experience, I would prefer to see the council meeting December the 4th,
And no committee of the whole?
Yeah.
Okay, is that your motion?
Yeah.
Any comments on that motion? Councillor Creed?
I guess it doesn't matter too much. I was thinking the 11th personally, but is there any time constraint? Like, you'll present the budget, right, in December council meeting? Would another week be any better for you?
No, I don't believe that we need the additional week. We're pretty close now to, when we can have a surplus, that's much easier to get rid of than a deficit,
Don't
council.
get rid of it.
All right, no, I'm okay. I just wanted to see if there was any problems.
For sure. Councillor
Let's
Smith?
look at the CCW for January 1st as well. That seems to land right on the 1st of
That'll be
January.
our next discussion, Councillor, so yes. Can we have a motion on Councillor Kronen's, sorry, can I have a vote on Councillor Kronen's motion that, A, there be no CCW in December, and B, the December regular council meeting be held on the first Tuesday. At, can we go with 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock?
You think 4? Okay.
Yeah, would that be okay with everybody?
Would it be better for the public, I mean,
They'll get noticed.
council?
They'll get noticed.
Okay.
Okay, 4 o'clock.
Okay, I will call that question. All in favor, regular council meeting be held December 4th at 4 o'clock. Any opposed? Carries, thank you very much. So thank you, Councillor Smith. As it just so happens, January the 1st, I will probably be sleeping in that day, but I won't be sleeping in until 4 o'clock. So do we want to dispense with committee of the whole on New Year's Day? Councillor Dahl?
I recommend we move it a week and have it on the 8th.
No, that's regular council meeting.
Then it would be
Okay.
council
Okay,
meeting.
so can I have that motion, please? You recommend we dispense with committee of the whole?
I do.
Okay. Discussion on the motion. All in favor to dispense with committee of the whole on January the 1st? So moved and carried. Thank you very much. Now, we need to schedule a retreat for our strategic planning and so forth. Marian is going to be away probably the third Tuesday, but the 22nd of January. I will be away and won't be back till about the 14th of January. I want council, if you would, council to consider that we hold a retreat the Friday, Saturday, January 18th and 19th.
Say that again?
The Friday, Saturday, January 18th and 19th.
18 and
I get
19.
back on the 18th. I think my flight's coming in a little bit.
Yeah, what time's your flight?
Yeah, it's not like that. We do it
Well-
early February, would early February be better, or we do it like the first week? I mean, that might be.
February would be fine. I'll arrange my schedule however I need to.
Okay, so that is a possibility, but if we were to hold it in January, then it appears like the 18th, 19th would be the only time that would work. Anyone else affected or impacted by the January dates, 18th, 19th?
Are you going on holidays on the 22nd, or are you coming back?
26th, I plan.
Oh, till
It's not
week.
confirmed yet.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'd be better with that.
if we would all kind of look at our calendars, and maybe at the next meeting, we fix some dates.
8th and 9th of February.
8th and 9th of February is one suggestion.
The next weekend you get into the long weekend.
Oh, the next weekend we get into that Family Day weekend, right. So let's pencil in for now, February 8th, 9th. And then maybe we also need to have some discussion. I know personally, for about 25 years now, if I'm in town, my phone, I have to answer my phone from business. I would not mind the break and maybe go out of town and spend the Friday night in Lethbridge, and it's been suggested we go to the Coast Hotel for the one night. Nothing in Calgary, nothing in Montana, like some other organizations do. We're just suggesting overnight in Lethbridge at the Coast Hotel. Councillor Kronen.
I know it may sound a little bit reactionary, but if we were to stay here, can we not come with our cell phones? And can we take away all our distraction and stay here with the sole purpose of working and making it a commitment to stay there and not have the family or whatever other event in a town take away our attention?
That's a
that be
nice,
possible?
that's a nice goal, but we can't keep
Doable?
anybody from walking in that door. We can't keep anyone from walking in the door. If we have a meeting, it has to, the door has to stay unlocked because, it's not a private meeting by any stretch. So let's do this then. Let's get the feeling of council. Would you prefer to have our retreat here and on those dates, 8th and 9th of February? Or whether we want to try to get out of town so we can hope to have no disturbances, no distractions, and so forth. You prepared to make that motion, Councillor Smith?
Yeah, sure. I'll make a motion that a motion?
Yeah.
Is that what you want, a
Yeah,
motion?
yeah.
Okay, that
And then we'll vote on it, we'll discuss it and vote on it.
Okay, then we make a motion to hold our town council retreat in Lethbridge on 8th and 9th.
February.
Of
Dis-
February.
Discussion on that motion. Councillor Dahl?
I think in our economic times, I agree with Councillor Kronen. I can't see why we can't have the same meeting here, because it doesn't have to be a public meeting.
But it is a public meeting. It is a
And,
public meeting. It has to be a public meeting.
So if we're holding it in Lethbridge, they can come to the meeting in Lethbridge as well if they want to.
They can. You
I
betcha.
would suggest we have the meeting here, just because of the related cost.
Okay, who else wants to comment on it?
I would suggest that maybe not in the council chambers. I wouldn't mind seeing it down at the museum. We've held it at the museum in the past. That's a good location. Kind of gets us out of a mindset here. So if we're in town, I'd like to have it in another building, just simply because I want to.
So right now, though, the motion is that we have it in Lethbridge. Councillor Smith has that motion. Any further comments on?
I always think it's nice just to get away and then you can visit with people on a different level or whatever. I mean, it's nice to get away and get to know one another a little bit better and things like that. Sometimes when you're going from your home to a meeting, you don't get to know each other a little bit, as good as you should, or be able to rub shoulders and understand each other, a bit better, so.
Any other
brings that
comments?
cohesiveness in there, so.
Any other comments? Okay, so the motion is that we hold our retreat for 2013, which will involve some strategic planning for the final 10 months of the term of this council. So it's been moved by Councillor Smith that we hold our retreat in Lethbridge that 8th, 9th of February. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion fails. Okay, so we now have to decide. Do we want to hold it right here? If we hold it right here, then everything that has to be brought comes through that door. If we move somewhere else, whether it be down at the Remington Center, wherever it might be, administration has got to pack up and go.
Just have it here then.
We'd have to pack up for everyone in Lethbridge.
Yeah.
Let's do it here.
Okay. Okay, so now we'll leave it up to administration then to put together some of the critical information that we need to consider as we move forward at that point through our final months of the 2013 calendar year and the final months of the term of this council.
I would suggest that we hold it upstairs here. So if you're worried about traffic down here, there won't be much traffic upstairs.
We'll probably have you in the council chambers upstairs by then.
That'll be good then.
There's no question that there's a whole lot of stuff goes on, whether it be a theater rehearsal, whether it be children doing their imitation of children in the hallway to the bathroom, wherever, and it's very, very noisy. So let's try to hold it upstairs. And that could be the inauguration of our new council chamber upstairs by then.
So what time do we want to start, 4 o'clock?
Well, typically, we would go from 3 until supper on the Friday. And do we want to stay here for supper and have Dairy Queen or bring in hamburgers? Okay. Okay. I'd be happy to bring in French fries and onion rings
We could go down to Athens.
to satisfy our culinary desires.
Salad will do me fine.
Which?
Salad.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the donation request from Mark and Marilee Cahoon. You've all had a chance to read it. Is there a motion to waive the fee? Mary?
On the retreat.
If you,
We had one that was
But it
defeated,
failed, yeah.
but
Do you need another motion?
we need a motion.
So I'll make a motion that we hold our council retreat in the town of Cardston
No ill feelings, eh, Councillor?
on February 8th and 9th.
We'll find a place.
Yeah.
okay, all in favor? So we really can't call it a retreat. All we can do is call it a strategic planning session because we're not retreating anyplace. Okay? So that motion is to hold our strategic planning session here in the building and probably upstairs. All in favor? Okay, thank you very much. Is there a motion forthcoming for the request to waiver the building charge for the meeting held regarding the proposed Alta-Link lines. Okay, I'm seeing a motion. There is no waiver being moved. Donation request for the Cardston Fire Department, for the fire department to hold their social and waive the fee for so doing.
Probably in a requisition somewhere, I'm sure.
Councillor Creed so moves.
I'll move that we waive the fee for the fire
Any
department.
discussion any discussion on the request for fee waiver for the fire department?
Yeah, just increase your requisition.
All in favor? Opposed? I had a councillor who is in violation of the Municipal Government Act. He didn't vote.
He's a mugwump.
Sorry about that.
I'm still going to let you vote. But do you want me to record your vote as being opposed?
No.
Okay. Okay, so Councillor Kronen.
May I ask, could I just ask if it would be possible to have on a donation policy on the application form, a date of the application added to that form?
All right, that's just a little,
Don't mind.
simple thing. Okay. Now, under 7E,
Where-
just to clarify, bylaw 1617 effectively rescinds bylaw 1590. I would like a motion for first reading of bylaw 1617. Councillor Edmonds so moves. Did I do that right, Marian? All in, any discussion on that motion for first reading of bylaw 1617? Again, it effectively rescinds and eventually will replace bylaw 1590. First reading is moved by who?
Edmonds.
Councillor Edmonds moves first reading of bylaw 1617. Marian, you had your hand up.
Yeah, just as I put in the backgrounder, we have a public hearing scheduled for this for the November 27th meeting,
Okay.
where you can hear input from the citizens as well. So this just gets it on the table for council
Okay.
for discussion.
Any further discussion on the motion for first reading of bylaw 1617? Councillor Cronin?
I just reviewed quite a few documents from the West Cardston area structure plan to this, the 1590, and to the one we have, 1617 right now. And what I really realized that some of the information that maybe was given to us when we had citizen of this town present was maybe not exactly totally accurate. For example, in 1590, it does well say in paragraph 6, object of the levy, that the storm drainage facilities are covered by those levies. But when you turn to the Schedule A and you look at the projects that were part of that levy, which was at the time the $6,353.52 for the west area.
Per acre?
Per acre, yes. What you discover then at that point is that the project only covered water and sanitary, that did not cover the storm management, water management problem. And so I understand why Mr. Former Mayor Bagozzi spoke about 1590 as including all the levies. So in his opinion, the storm pond was included. But in fact, it was not.
But this cleans
And so
that up.
This is why
This
we need
cleans-
to repeal that.
This
And
cleans
I
that
think
up.
it's important that the
Yeah,
public
yeah.
understand.
Well, that
why
will
we
be
need
brought up
to
in, that will be brought up in the
bring that
public
up.
hearing. That will be brought up in the public hearing. Any further comments on the motion for first reading? And by the way, who moved first reading? Councillor, okay.
Dave,
David, which Dave, right? Pick one, Dave, okay. Any further comments? I will call a question. All in favor of first reading on bylaw 1617? Carries? Okay, and now, we've got some interesting work to go through here, but it should be straightforward. 1616A, we can do 3 readings, if council so chooses. It is the dog bylaw, so I would like first reading, please, motion for first reading on 161A. Councillor Court so moves. Discussion on 161A. Question, Councillor Dahl?
No.
Could I have second reading? Oh, sorry,
Councillor
all in
Dahl.
favor of first reading? It carries.
I'll move second reading.
Councillor Dahl moves second reading of 1616A. Any discussion on second reading of 1616A? All in favor? Okay, that carries. Could I have a motion to allow third reading? Councillor Smith moves to allow third reading of 1616A. Discussion on the motion to allow third reading. I will call that question. All in favor? This one has to be unanimous. Any opposed? Okay, so can I have
Mr.
a
Mayor,
motion for third
Do we have
reading?
to go back to 1617 and do a second reading?
We're not doing it tonight.
No,
Not
We're not
tonight?
doing it tonight.
we'll have a public hearing.
Okay,
first.
is there a motion for third reading of 1616A? Councillor Creed so moves.
Okay.
Discussion on that motion.
I'd just like to make a comment, because normally we don't, normally I'm not in favor of 3 readings of a bylaw on one night, but because this was a technicality that we didn't vote on the amendments properly, that's why we have to redo this. And since it's been discussed and it's been over a period of time, we're really, we're just cleaning up the details and moving this bylaw into effect. So
Okay.
I'm in favor of third reading.
Okay, so I will call the question. All in favor of third reading of 1616A? Any opposed? Third reading passes on 1616A. Bylaw 1582B, I'd like a motion for first reading, and that's probably all we'll do tonight. Councillor Dahl moves first reading of bylaw 1582B. Now, to clarify, 1582B is a bylaw of the town of Cardston respecting utilities, including water treatment and distribution, wastewater collection and treatment, and storm sewer collection and electrical distribution. So Councillor Dahl moves first reading of bylaw 1582B. Any discussion on that motion? Councillor Creed.
I'll just mention, this is the one that I recommended in committee of the whole, and that we will give it first reading, and then we will present these things at the community awareness night and have some feedback, and then we can see what the town does and decide whether we want to keep it the same or amend it at that point. So.
Marian?
As well, just in addition to that, the budget is based around these projections, just to keep that in mind. But also, we will advertise for a public hearing for the November 27th meeting as well for public input into it.
Okay, so I will call a question being first reading of bylaw 1582B. All in favor? First reading carries. Now, again, these are recommendations from Committee of the Whole of a week ago. The second bylaw, which we will ask for first reading, 1606B. Could I have that being the motion, the bylaw to amend bylaw 1606, the electricity distribution bylaw? Who made that motion? First reading of 1606B?
I thought it was.
Councillor Creed so moves. That's upon recommendation. I'm trying to go back to my list and see who made that
You
recommendation.
did.
Must have been me. Okay. Any discussion on that one? I will call a question. First reading of bylaw 1606B to amend bylaw 1606, the electricity distribution bylaw, essentially dealing with rate increases. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? First reading passes, bylaw 1606B. Marian, did we need another one, or is that going to be included in the public hearing?
Again, we'll include that in the public hearing. Anytime you're changing the utility rates, I think it's important that
Second, the next one is F4, at being 1V or IV, not intravenous, but IV. Policy C/27, public presentation to council policy. Marian, were there some changes on this one?
New policy.
I'll make a motion.
I have one question.
Councillor? Oh, let's take the motion first.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve policy.
Councillor
27.
Smith moves approval of the public presentation to council policy being policy C/27. Councillor Dahl has a question.
On the second series of 4 bullets, on bullet number 3, it says of the municipality, and I just wondered if that should say of the town.
Town is a
The
municipality.
town is the municipality of reference. The town is the municipality of reference. Okay, I've got. Any discussion on that motion pertaining to the policy when public gives a presentation to council? Okay, I think the comment that I had that came out of Committee of the Whole, the comment that I might have made it last week, we want to ensure when these requests are completed from someone in the public, we understand that as a general rule, we don't have agenda time for people who are not ratepayers or are not residents and voting. Secondly, they need to be informed that civility and respect and decorum be maintained, because people in the community can disagree with us if they choose, but they must be respectful in how they proceed and state their displeasure or their opposition to something that we typically might do as a council. Marian?
Just for clarification, I don't believe the policy states that they have to be a ratepayer or a citizen of Cardston to present.
Okay.
They do have to put there is some criteria for their presentation, but I don't believe the policy states that.
I know we've, in the recent past, as individuals have requested to present to council, and maybe we've taken it upon ourselves to say, listen, council has a pretty tight agenda time, and you've got to give us a reason why, if you're not a ratepayer, if you're not a resident with voting privileges, or maybe even a child, for example, we would listen to a child of 15, 16 years old or whatever, if they wanted to have a bike trail or something. What does council think about that? Do we want to sort of throw ourselves wide open to allow people, for whatever reason, to present? Because otherwise, who does that leave to make the decision that we would listen to presentations? Now, having said that, I guess we typically listen to the Chinook Arch Board. They typically will come and present. Other groups like that will come and present.
But those people affect the ratepayers of Cardston. I mean,
Okay.
we subsidize, we fund those people.
Okay.
I really think we need to be careful for allowing people to come and present to the council that it actually affects the town of Cardston, that we're not getting people in for whatever. That's my opinion. I don't mind outsiders not living in town, but it has to affect somehow the town of Cardston for us to entertain that.
Okay. Your thoughts, Councillor Creed?
Well, I was going to say, we just had a presentation recently from the Alberta Southwest,
Futures.
yeah, the Reef Girl and.
But we have representation. We
yeah.
have representation on that organization.
Right, I'm just going to say they weren't ratepayers or.
Councillor Kronen.
It seems to me that the way the policy is written, if you look in the middle of your policy, it gives you a chance to see how it's accepted and refused.
Yeah. I think I misplaced that one. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, you can-
Just look at the second and third bullet in the center of that page. It seems to me there is something in place.
Mhm.
I don't have an issue with people coming in and presenting. I have an issue with people coming in and presenting the same thing week after week after
But-
week, or,
That's
and I think the criteria that was put inside the policy is, I think it's sufficient to, that doesn't happen, so.
Okay, so if council is content and satisfied with the second bullet under upon receipt of a properly completed application, referred to a staff member, typically Marian, Jeff, referred to a staff member or department where the subject matter of the presentation can be adequately addressed. It's important that people understand that you just can't walk in and request council time, because some things need to be vetted, need to be cleared through administration. And I know that I think in the past we can trust administration to do that, because administration definitely tries to sort of, and maybe triage isn't the right word, but direct away from council things that can be best addressed by administration. So I guess we'll just leave it at that. And I know there have been occasions where I've been contacted by administration. Does council need to listen to group A, individual A or B or whatever? And I have just felt like in some cases administration would be able to handle it quite capably. All right, so did we have a motion before I launched into my diatribe? Councillor Smith moves approval of C27, public presentation to council policy. Any further comments or discussions on it, Councillor Creed?
I'd just like to comment that anytime you have a policy, it can be tweaked one way or the other, and I would hope that administration will use this policy in a way to facilitate rather than block people to give presentations to council.
If I might, I think a lot of the intent of the policy is to provide council with sufficient information prior to a delegation. So it's more intended to benefit you as council rather than try and regulate who's coming to council, right?
And the point too that needs to be understood, and I know Councillor understands this very well, there are issues where people might request to come to council. And it in some cases needs to be vetted administratively, and then council can determine whether that we need to listen to it. Council may determine that we don't need to listen to it, but administration can make those calls before it ever comes to our agenda, in my mind. And that's addressed here because it says it can be refused. Okay, that motion's made by Councillor Smith. I'll call a question. All in favor? Carries. Thank you very much. Communities in Bloom dossier.
I make the motion.
Okay, move acceptance to you, Councillor Kronen. Approval of the Communities in Bloom Committee dossier. Councillor Kronen so moves. Any discussion on that motion? I'll call a question. All in favor? Carries. And again, these are recommendations from Committee of the Whole. South Grow Regional Initiative dossier. Councillor Kronen sits on that South Grow board and moves approval of the South Grow Regional Initiative dossier. Questions or discussion on that motion? Councillor Dahl.
Marian, what benefit do we receive from this?
South Grove? I think probably the councillor that represents that committee is best to answer that question.
South Grow is an organization that represents 22 communities, and we work on regional concerns. Right now we're working on a project on water that is impacting all the communities, and Jeff is going to be representing the southern Alberta on that project. So we are very visible in that organization, and we managed to fund ourselves through grants. And if you notice, for the next 3 years, while all the other REDA have increased their membership fees considerably, we managed to keep it at the same rate as it has been in the past years.
Also, to address your question, South Grow deals with and does background on and presents very, very critical and crucial information from highly regarded and very expert sources that if we were to need accessibility and information of the nature in question, we could never afford it on our own.
Yeah.
So collectively, the communities, all who are members, get benefit of these very specialized types of projects, types of information shared collectively.
Right now, we have two major projects, one on water, one on alternative energy.
Okay, I will call the question for approval of the South Schow Regional Initiative dossier as moved by Councillor Kronen. All in favor? Carries. Tangible capital asset policy. Gee, I wonder who will make a motion on this one.
I think I had better.
Councillor Dahl, surprise, surprise, moves acceptance as recommended by Committee of the Whole, policy T/6-2. Did you get that? T/6-2, all right? Don't forget that. Tangible capital asset policy. Any discussion on that one? You want to give us some rationale behind it, Councillor Dahl?
What we have done, what has happened, they're changing the depreciation from calculating it annually and from the date of purchase of asset to do it on a monthly basis.
Okay. All in favor of the motion on the tangible capital assets carries. Thank you. Another recommendation being FVII, Community Theater Agreement. Can I have that motion? Councillor Creed so moves upon recommendation from Committee of the Whole. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carries. The motion for Community Theater Agreement carries. Sanitary sewer trunk line funding. This is a little tricky because there was serious cost overruns on this one, but it is recommended by Committee of the Whole. Can I have that motion, please? Moved by Councillor Court. The sanitary sewer trunk line funding. Discussion on that motion. I will call a question. All in favor? Carries. Financial report, none this meeting. Committee and other reports. Town Council motion list is there for your scrutiny. Any questions on that one? October 23rd of 2012, the council motion list. Okay. Can I have a motion? That's just for advice, isn't it? We don't need a motion on that. All right. We're on a roll there with all these motions. Market surveillance report. This does need a motion. Councillor Kronen so moves. Any discussion on the motion to accept the market surveillance report? I will call a question. All in favor? Carries the motion to accept the market surveillance report. There for your analysis, the bylaw/animal control enforcement report, October 2012.
Rabbit.
Lots of skunks in town.
Lots of skunks in town. There's always skunks in the fall. Somebody lost their pet rabbit. Maybe it wasn't a pet rabbit. Maybe it was just,
They were just trying to find a home for it.
maybe it was just a friendly lapin. Is that right, Councillor Kronen? Lapin?
Totally right.
Lapin? Okay, so, next,
Well, I got a question.
is it about a lapin?
No, it's on business licenses. Is someone checking to make sure all these contractors that are working
Yes.
have licenses?
Absolutely.
Because there seem to be a lot of fly-by-night. You see guys with just a couple of ladders on their truck, there's no names.
You got a truck, you got a ladder, you're a roofer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Marian, I gather our bylaw enforcement officer,
Lloyd has been very diligent in that. In fact, to the dismay of some of the citizens, Lloyd has been very diligent.
He
know-
went with Alexis
We have some citizens
and
in
doing
trouble too.
his run. I saw them when I was walking.
and quite frankly, that is a situation, that is a process that needs to be managed and needs to be managed in a mature way, which I would expect our bylaw officer would, because people cannot come to town and undertake work without a proper license. Now, in the process, Marian, can I ask this question? Do we have the right by provincial law, or do we have the right by our own city ordinance to insist that these contractors have their own contractor's license? Is that something that we have the right to do, or
That they have,
not just a business license, but a contractor's license? Okay?
the provincial. A lot of these guys. But I think the important thing for the citizens to understand here is we do this for their protection.
Absolutely.
It's not to get the $25 or whatever the fee is, it's to make sure that they are legitimate and that
Well, yes, in all honesty, because it's not unheard of. In fact, it can be alarming that some of the fly-by-night individuals in remodeling and roofing or whatever can prey upon the unsuspecting, the trusting people in any community. Councillor Smith?
Even legit.
I was just gonna say, have we had any discussions with any neighboring communities in regards to what we kind of had with Alberta Southwest, with a joint licensing initiative type of thing, where you can buy a license that would allow you to work in all the different municipalities there? Have we maybe look at that there, or?
If I could, at our economic development meeting on Thursday, we had quite a bit of discussion on business licenses, so we're intending to propose some changes, and also reviewing, potentially, we haven't had this discussion, but a county license, so something.
Anything in the county then take
But, and again, that would have to be with the
Yeah.
agreement of the county, but we're gonna take a proposal along those lines too.
Okay, we have correspondence from the Minister of Transportation for Alberta, Rick McIver. And he talks about APA under the Federal Gas Tax Fund. Okay, the next item is Alberta Municipal Affairs.
That's one to
Funding of the.
Now, that's the one that talks about, Marian, could you just briefly, for at least maybe for my clarification, what control in MSI funding, what control does the Department of Municipal Affairs retain in the MSI funding? Can you maybe address that?
Well, yeah, the funding itself, the grant itself has criteria, and our applications have to meet that criteria. So if you're specifically talking about the pool funding, we have applied to allocate $300,000 of 2013 and $300,000 of 2014 funding to that project. Sorry, I'm getting my years mixed up here. If council chooses to do something otherwise, or if we don't require that funding, it requires an amendment to that application, that's all.
And can you comment on sort of, is that a delayed, is it something that they have to?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay, all right.
If we know that the project fits the criteria, well, you'll see from the federal gas tax one prior, these projects are completed, and we're just getting notification from the province now that our funding was approved. So we know that it meets the criteria, it's just a delay in the process.
So we've already spent the money then.
Okay, and that's information that's very valuable, given the fourth item on that line. We never know, we may choose to do something different. There's a document in here, a piece of correspondence that I found very intriguing. The Water Finance Research Foundation, it appears that deteriorating, decaying infrastructure, especially in the case of this piece of information, on water from Greg Baird, President of the Water Finance Research Foundation, from North State Street, Suite 202 in Orem, Utah. It's there for our interest. It's a report entitled Water Main Break Rates in the USA and Canada, a comprehensive study.
What I found interesting is that mentioned that Canada has the best practice of all by using PVC pipes.
Ground freezes there, we have to have some.
Well, and I'm guessing in the States, they use a lot of clay pipes, yeah. And it doesn't take too much to break those, it
No.
doesn't seem like.
A lot of the old pipes were cast iron too.
Oh, right. That would make tasty water, wouldn't it? Okay, so the final, under correspondence is Councillor Smith has advised us that he will be away for a few days.
And gracias to
And so, giving notice, he would be absent from council for a period of no more than 8 weeks, and that is in compliance with the Municipal Government Act and town policy.
It's 3 meetings, I think, is what it's gonna work out too, so.
Okay, now, I need a motion to go in camera, please. We are taking in camera, moved by Councillor Dahl. It's an employment item. It's an employment item which is certainly something that we can take in camera. And so, all in favor of going in camera? Okay, thank you, that one carries. Now, it's a perfect time to take a little potty break.